I think we should start there if you're comfortable with that, Jessica.
Hey, yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get you spotlighted
Mm.
and just share your journey about the whole journey about how you got to little baby Joseph.
That was Mayim Hush. That was a long journey. So like
Oh, wait, but can
Jose,
you thank you. Bless us with your beauty. Thank you so much.
um, so like Jose and I, when we started talking about having a kid, we did everything the traditional way, if you will. And it wasn't easy, because Jose has a spinal cord injury. It's not always easy that way for the men. So we decided to he brought it up. So he was like, hey, well, what about I was like, oh, that's different. That's expensive. Let's figure this out. So, we started to look into it. We went to this one place that was so bougie. I wish I remembered the name. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was so bougie and they were so nice and it was so expensive. And I was like, hey, I am totally down for being like your inspo story if you guys want to cut us a really good deal on this journey. Dead, dead butt. Like I was like,
Dead butt.
let's
Dead butt's no
dead butt.
better. Dead butt is no better. Like, bad. That was Scotland.
And,
Good.
and they were down too. They were like, absolutely. Like we'll give you half off, if
Really?
yeah, if it was a success, a live birth. I hate when they call them live births, but
Well, I mean, that's a reality.
um they would have, and they would share our stories and they'll make pamphlets and all this stuff. So I was like, awesome.
Amazing.
Uh-huh. I was like, I don't care. Yeah. So, Jose did not like them. He said they were too flashy. It was like when you go to the psychics that have all the neon lights, those are not the good ones. You got to go to the ones that are in a hole in the wall with the grandmas in the back. So, he wasn't sold on it. So he's like, I don't care if it's half price. I just don't want to be there. So he said he wanted to go to somebody who specializes in spinal cord injury. So we ended up going to RMA. And there's a doctor there who specializes in folks with spinal cord injury. And Jose did his whole part there first, and then it was my turn. And we had a few um unsuccessful rounds. I think we did about 5 rounds total. Um, and we lost one. Like I carried one and then lost it. And then the rest they just weren't like the quality. Wait, is it the quality of the ice? No, no, no. They just didn't stick. They just didn't stick. So the whole process is a pain in the butt because especially for the woman, the guy's part is easy, like dump it in a cup or they'll retrieve it if they need to. And but for us, we got to take a whole lot of medications, a whole lot of needles, whole lot of big needles. And then because Jose has limited hand movement, I had to stick myself. And sticking myself in the booty boy, that was difficult. So I would lay down. Oh my God, it's funny now, but I would lay down and I would be like, okay, Jose, where does it go? And he'd be like, to the left, to the right. And I'd hold the needle and then I stick myself and I make him push the plunger down, with his hand. He puts the plunger down. And I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of this. And that was like maybe the second or third round. And then we realized we never switched the needles because they have the needles that you use to draw the medication and then the needles you switch to inject yourself. So the ones to draw the medication are a little bit thicker and a lot longer. And the other ones are, and it's not a significant difference, but it's a difference. And then we later realized, oh, okay, well, we should have probably, read the damn instructions.
Oh my God.
So there was a lot of different medications involved, a lot of hormonal stuff happening, a lot of physical, like in your vaginal area happening. It changes your chemistry and stuff. So, for me, I feel Jose might have a different opinion, but I feel like I was really calm. Like I was okay. I was trying the most for the most part, to be in a positive headspace the whole time. Like I was just like, okay, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Whatever. Even after every damn fail, like I tried. And so then the last round we paid extra because it was a guarantee. It was significantly extra actually. Um, but you could do, I think it was up, I can't remember now. It was like 6 to 10 tries, um, without having to pay for anything else other than the medication. And wouldn't you know, this one first time stuck. And here's my boy. So
Okay.
that's like the short version of IVF stuff.
Okay. So when you say other than the medication, what normally is included other than the medication?
So you have to have scans done. You go in and they have it's a transvaginal exam. So I'm sure a lot of us who've been to the GYN, you've seen it anywhere. It's that long, skinny, freaky looking dildo thing that they stick up there and they check. So that's a transvaginal exam. And then the ultrasounds or the sonogram, I always mix up the two. And you have to do that like every other day. I did it like every other day. Um, to check the growth of your follicles. Um, and obviously, when I got to his stage, like they checked your uterus and all of that. Um, so it's the scans, blood work, obviously the doctor's cut. Um, what else? I think I'm probably missing something, but that's more or less like just the general doctor stuff covered under the IVF.
Okay. Thank you. Tiffany, you have a question. I saw yours, Karen. I got you.
Yeah, is it RMA
Yeah,
network that you went through?
not network. RMA
Okay,
of New York.
okay, because I found an RMA network that goes all over the place. There's one in New York, there's one in New Jersey, there's one in California. If
Is
I
it a
drop,
reproductive clinic?
it is.
Oh, then that might be a reproductive
Okay,
medicine associates, I think it is.
yes, yeah, I'll put it in the chat, what I
Tho-
found.
Those are the ones that you're saying were willing to provide you with the medication.
No, no, no. That's the clinic we went to for folks with spinal cord injury.
Okay.
It's not exclusively people with spinal cord injury, but they have a doctor there who specializes with folks with spinal cord injury.
Yeah,
But
it's called
it was
Reproductive Medicine Associates.
Hmm. That's it.
Okay, that's
but it
what I
was when
put.
you went to the other place that you got.
The place that I got the bad vibes from, no, we only did that one visit, got the consultation, and never went back there, never did anything with them ever again.
Okay. So you carried it out through RMA.
Through RMA, yes.
Okay. 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 Great. All right. Awesome. Great resource. There's Samiyah now. So, wait, I do want to know before asking that question. What the hell happens to your vagina during IVF?
Like a lot of discharge. I got a whole lot of discharge with the Medicaid. There was one in particular that, oh my God, I felt like a dairy factory. Like it was gross. I was moist. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah. Lily, did you have that same experience?
No,
No, not at all.
Oh,
no.
but you just retrieved, right?
I just retrieved the eggs. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so
the egg retrieval.
yeah, there's the egg retrieval medications. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on that. There's that egg retrieval medications, and then there's the once you do the implantation, then you have the medications that you start before the implantation that you'll get their girlfriend that do that to your body.
Is that because you're going to be producing milk too? Like, does it just because your hormones? Is it just estrogen or?
I
Not
think
estrogen.
it's the lining of your uterus, like everything is just preparing to hold baby.
So does that typically happen when you're pregnant? Do you just get a lot of discharge? Just even if it were an IVF, does anyone know? And I don't know.
Oh,
Lauren had a baby. I don't know who else on here had a baby. Um, okay. I
Sorry, Natalia. I
yes.
did. I have kids. Yes. For me, no, there was no. I don't remember any like extra discharge when I was pregnant.
Hmm.
It stopped when I stopped the medication. Like once they felt secure that he was attached, they and I stopped the medication, it was fine after that.
Okay, so I guess it was just the medication then.
Jessica, how far along were you then once you stopped the medication though, once he was quote unquote like stuck, like he was
Yeah.
attached and
I think it was like something like 2 months because I had taken it a month before and definitely a couple of weeks afterwards. So somewhere like a month and a half, 2 months.
so it's
And
like
you had to
before
take it 3 times a day. Ugh.
so it was like before they implanted the embryo and you were taking the medication and then a month and a half to two afterwards.
No, no, no. 1 month before and then a couple of
Well,
weeks at least.
in a couple of weeks. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just looking
So,
forward to what I have to go through. Thank you.
But your regimen might be different, because like each cycle I did to retrieve my eggs, my medications altered a little bit.
Got you.
hmm. Okay. I want to ask you, both you and Lily, a very specific question concerning the IVF and like treatment that you received. And I'm wondering if like maybe Jose felt uneasy about the first place you went to because of the way you were being treated. But before we go there, I want to introduce our guest speaker. Hold on, I'm gonna pin you. Hi, Samiyah. You're muted, I think, but
Yes, I was. Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry. These technical difficulties have been keeping me away. I hope you all are well.
no, I
Hi,
was
Jessica. It's so good to hear from you again.
Hi.
I was concerned for a minute that like our times got crossed. I'm like, oh my God, did we have a misunderstanding in time? But no, thank God. Just technical difficulties. We all handle that. But
Oh,
everyone,
gosh.
Samiyah is an advocate of disability rights with a focus in criminal justice, human services, and advocacy. She graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in these fields. She has continued her education with courses sponsored and accredited by the American Association of Sexual Education for Coaches and Therapists, the Association of Occupational Therapists for Sex, OT, and Arizona Disability Law. Currently in association with the internationally recognized nonprofit organization Divas with Disabilities, whoop whoop. Samiyah is the Diva Global Ambassador and a member of the NAACP. So everyone,
Hey.
yeah, Miss Samaya's here. And I'm so happy.
Yay, thank you.
I'm so happy to
I'm so happy to be here, girl. Thank you for having me. This is very, very important stuff. And I'm so upset I missed half of it. Please tell me you recorded it.
Yeah, no, you didn't miss too much. Jessica was sharing her IVF journey and how, the whole process, how she got to, give birth to little baby Joseph. Um, which I don't know if we got into that part, Jessica, if you had natural childbirth or if you had to have a C-section and whether that was like having to do with, do you feel like I hear people sometimes say that they feel like things were forced upon them because of their disability. And that's where I wanted to go with this. Throughout your process, and Lily, you as well, with exploring IVF, did you encounter anything like that?
I think there's definitely, am I muted?
No, you're not.
No, okay. There's definitely some bias or whatever with people in that field. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but I think a lot of it also has to do with the individual too. Like you have to be able to speak up for yourself and not be afraid. So like my situation mm, is was a little different because my disability is osteogenesis imperfecta, so my bones break really easily. And for me, one of the criterias was being at the hospital nearest to my hospital that specializes in my disability. In case anything, because my ultimate goal was to have vaginal birth. Um, and I did all the measurements, everything, all the exams, everything before I got pregnant to make sure that there was a way for me to have, vaginal birth because a lot of women with my disabilities, because our bones break, we have a lot of deformities and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure for me that that wasn't an issue. And so I went to the hospital nearest to, so the hospital that specializes in my disability is Hospital for Special Surgery. I love them. Um, and next door to them is New York Presbyterian. And I have known several women who live near me that have had babies they have disabilities and they have had babies and had them in New York Presbyterian and have shared that they have a wonderful experience. So, and then the other part that kind of makes it unique is my partner, his daddy's also disabled. Um, he has a high level spinal cord injury, C5. And I wanted to make sure that in the event I couldn't have a vaginal delivery, and I had to be put into the OR, that he could still be involved. I didn't want them to give me shit that he was like not physically allowed because of sanitary reasons. I was like, I will sign whatever waiver you want me to sign, but he's not gonna miss out,
Mm.
on this experience. So right out the gate, I was like, I'm little, but I'm crazy. So let's make sure this goes smooth, right? And so I had an epidural protocol like in place. I wanted to have the epidural in the event I needed to go into the OR to have a cesarean. Um, because if I have, how do I say this? If you if you wait too long to do the epidural, then you have to go under general anesthesia. And I didn't want to go under general anesthesia because I didn't want to miss the birth of my baby. I wanted to hear him cry. I wanted to go through all of that stuff. So I made sure that I could be awake, even alert, even if it wasn't vaginally. So once I went into labor, they immediately gave me the epidural. But it was called a dry epidural, so there was no medication going through. Well, the other part that was important to me was to still feel my legs. So because I have brittle bones, I need to be able to feel my body. So this way, if somebody is leaning on me too hard or pulling or pushing in a way that's uncomfortable, that I could feel that and stop that, because the worst thing that could have happened was to have a broken bone and have a newborn. So I wanted to make sure that I could still feel everything. And so I never pressed that button until one I was going through contraction, and Jose's like, press the button. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And then somebody else was in the room with me and they were like, push the damn button. And I was like, all right, I pushed the button and I sat up and I threw up. And I was like, no, no more. So I never touched the damn epidural again after that. Um but I ended up being in labor for 36 hours and I couldn't get past 7 centimeters. This little boy was like, no, mama, we're staying right here. So then they said that I could have kept going, but I was so tired at that point. I was just like, I waved the red flag. Like, I was like, please, like, I give up, take him out. So I ended up having a C-section at 36 hours. And uh, I think it was about 2 weeks before I gave birth. We spoke with the staff at the clinic to make sure that it was okay for Jose. Like every appointment, I mentioned Jose and being in the OR, um and they tried to say 2 weeks before, they were like, his chair's a motorized chair and it's out in the street. We don't think it's sanitary for the OR. So they started that language, and immediately I shut it down. Immediately. So this is where I go back to saying, yes, the hospital has their biases or whatever, but you have to also be active in communicating the things that you need and not be afraid, because there's nothing that they can do to you to hurt you. You know what I mean? Um, so I was just like, yeah, no, this discussion here, we're not happening. We're not having it. It's just not gonna happen. And I was like, you do what you need to do on your end to make sure that he can physically get into the OR in his chair. They wanted to put him in a regular, like, Everson's Jennings wheelchair, like the standard hospital chair. And I was like, he has a high level injury. So he can't tilt in a regular manual chair. He's gonna sit and get a pressure sore. I'm not gonna get broken, and he's not gonna get a sore or get injured while we're having this baby here. So anyway, I was like, you figure that out in the background and you get back to me. So in they were doing their thing, and on my end, just in case, We had got access to a manual wheelchair that could manually be tilted and reclined and things like that. In the event they still tried to pop their mouth off, just in case. So we had that secured in our pocket. Um, but then 2 days later, they were like, "Yeah, you're fine. You're cleared from the hospital. He has no problem to go in." So he had to get into a bunny suit to go into the OR, and you're only allowed two people. So I had Jose and my other person with me, but as accommodation for Jose, they allowed me a third. So they allowed his home attendant to come. So this way that he could then be put onto the table to get into his bunny suit, and while his home attendant was getting him together, um, hospital staff was disinfecting his wheelchair. And that was it. And then he came in the OR, and I was in the OR, and baby came.
I'm really happy to hear that. So they provided him a space to get dressed too. That wasn't
Yes,
the room that you were in, a
yes,
different space.
yes,
Wow, amazing.
yes. Mm-hmm,
Wow, that's incredible.
mm-hmm,
I'm really happy to hear that. I didn't know that part, so that's awesome.
mm-hmm.
And there was no like indication they weren't saying that it might be risky for you to give vaginal birth, like with your bone issue, like you couldn't break those bones down there.
No, I mean, there's a risk with anything. I was more scared of breaking my legs because, like, bearing down, like putting too much pressure on my legs. I was more afraid of breaking my legs. But I mean, the risk is there for everything. It was just a risk I was willing to take.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Cool. So you didn't encounter, I mean, it's hard for you to encounter a lot of blockages because you are tiny but crazy and a little bulldozer. So, you know, I could see that. So Lily, what was your experience? Did you ever come in encounter anything like that where you felt like people were kind of trying to hold you back or judge you or not
Not
provide
at all.
you?
Where I was at, where I did that, my whole process, they were actually super nice, super accommodating, super understand. Like I couldn't have asked for a more positive experience because that was like the first thing. I'm like, crap, I'm in Florida, and we all know how I feel about Florida and their doctors and everything that they coming from New York. Because New York is for me like top notch. So I was just like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? Why would I do it here? But it was probably the best experience I've had with the doctor in this state, at least. So no, they were super accommodating, everything.
Awesome. And because you also went to a doctor who had knowledgeability about spinal cord injury,
She
right?
she did, yeah. So when I first went to like to have the consultation first, I was like, first thing before we like get into anything, have you ever worked with anyone with spinal cord injury? She was like, yeah, actually I have. I was like, okay, we're good then. All right. So you understand like she understood the whole AD and all that other stuff. And she understood my concerns with not wanting to get on birth control
Yeah.
because from everyone that I've ever spoken to with a spinal cord injury, just a disability, anyone that took birth control or anything, I ended up with PE.
Oh yeah.
And and I didn't want to have to go through that. I was just like, listen, we're just gonna have to go based on whatever my cycle is. I don't know. I'll
What's
let you know.
PE?
Pulmonary.
Pulmonary embolism.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Yeah.
Oh, just so you know, I know I'm jumping ahead a
No,
lot, Lily,
no,
but
no, you girl, go for it. Yeah.
no, you make sure that, I mean, I don't know, make sure, but ask. They had me on blood thinners at the end.
At the end of the egg
My,
retrieval or after you gave birth?
like my third trimester of my pregnancy, they put me on blood thinners, and then I started getting Braxton Hicksy, and I stopped because if I had a cesarean, you would bleed out. So once I started feeling like, my belly's hard and things are getting different, the weeks were getting closer. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stop. Something in my head just was like, stop. And maybe a week later, I gave birth. So, but you don't want to like bleed out on the table, God forbid.
Hmm.
No, we don't want that. That would defeat the whole purpose of going through all of this.
Ugh.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
Oh, and then once after I gave birth, then I stayed on it for I think 6 weeks because they said the greatest risk of blood clots is after.
Right.
So, so
Yeah.
I was told also like while doing also the egg retrieval, like it was very imperative, especially for me to also just be on blood thinners so that I don't start clotting up from all the injections and just doing from like just from everything. So I was also on blood thinners for that as well.
Oh
Because the
wow.
injections entail estrogen, no?
Shit ton of different estrogens, yeah. And
Okay.
and it depends on how much you produce like egg wise and if you want to increase that number, they up that estrogen, which is what I did on like my second round of for retrieval. Like or I said the first round was like easy peasy. I was great. And then the second one it was like a nightmare kind of like in my head with everything, all the emotions and everything. So
Oh
um
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
that was just like it made your brain just like all fuzzy and you're just like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then it's just like, stop complaining. This is a great opportunity. And, people would kill for this if they're able to do, like, there are so many, like, suck it up, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait
I'm
till you give when you have your baby. Lord have mercy. I remember looking at him 2 days later, just sobbing for an hour. I wasn't sad or anything. I was just like, why is he so beautiful?
I mean,
Like,
maybe it'll
what's
bring
wrong
out
with you?
the emotional part of me because we all know I'm so like, I have no empathy. I
well,
have
if it does, I'm gonna roast you. But I know Lauren. I don't know if Lauren. I don't know if I even know if Lauren had her child like naturally, like if she had to do any of that, any
Can
IVF.
I stop you though? Like, I'll tell you this, and it's just an educational moment. Like, I would remove the word naturally, only because going through this process myself, I never realized how hard of a word that was. Even when when I was speaking about vaginal delivery versus cesarean delivery, I didn't say natural delivery. I said I had a cesarean because I still gave birth to a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just the language going through the process that I realized means something, if that
Kind of
makes
like
sense.
normal. You equate the natural
Yes,
normal.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I understand that. Okay.
so just really just like, do you have a cesarean or was it vaginal birth that was
Understood.
better?
I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I mean, for me, and it was never on my radar until obviously now. Now I'm so much more sensitive when I ask people. I don't even talk about breastfeeding because that was a whole other story in itself.
Okay. And so, all right. So, um, I know that I went through the experience of, and I took very low dose birth control. It was like maybe orthotricycline or something like that, and that's what caused me to have my pulmonary embolism. That part. Um, and I always like regretted like not, I don't know, like suing the doctor or the hospital, but I didn't even know if I was within right to do that. Like, so I wonder. So, Samaya. I think we should maybe start with the family planning part of what are your thoughts about the reproductive rights and when it comes to family planning?
Before begins, can we also like throw in there the like the starting the family thing? Let's assume like someone like me, like if I won't be able to carry it myself because I've had internal bleedings in my stomach and stuff, so I have scar tissue. So, I mean, my doctor said we'll cross that bridge when it's time, but I might have to go through having a surrogate. So
Yeah.
does that coincide with like family planning as well, a surrogacy, if possible, if needed, or is that a totally separate issue?
No, I believe that that goes hand in hand together because that is someone who will be carrying your child. That's someone who will be carrying your embryo. So, I mean, it definitely goes hand in hand. That is family planning at its best, for sure. When it comes to family planning, you guys are killing the game. I'm not even gonna lie, Jessica. Like every time I hear you talk, girl, definitely. Vocalization is very, very mighty when it comes to the medical field, and just making sure that your legal rights are adhered to, especially as a patient, and making sure that you're not going to have any issues when it comes to the family support system or the family care system. As Jessica has mentioned, there are a lot of individuals who have their own ideals when it comes to um, different variables of how we can raise our children adequately and without difficulty. So, first and foremost, it's very important for us to know our patient rights because, as we're getting ready to give birth to our children, we don't want to encounter any instances of like medical kidnapping, which is essentially where they pull all the stops to get uh, medical leeway or authorization to take your child from you. Um, and it is a very serious issue for individuals who are dealing with disabilities, especially more obvious disabilities. So family care and family planning is essential because we want to make
I
sure
am
that through
so
every
sorry,
step.
but that
No, go
happened
ahead.
to us. Like they can't,
Yes.
they did say something. Like, and I actually heard stories about it. And I like I was scared. I was like, oh my God, is somebody gonna come after my baby? Like I live closest to Bellevue Hospital, and everybody's like, why don't you do it there? And I was like, because I heard that's the hospital that takes your baby away the fastest. So,
Mhm.
and when I was getting ready to be discharged, a nurse, a social worker, and someone else came into the room and they asked me how was I going to take care of my baby. Actually, when I was cleared after the cesarean and the baby was brought in my room, they gave me a one-on-one, and I was like, there's no way this hospital is that great that you get one-on-one nurse care. And they were like, no, they're just giving it to you. And I was like, why?
Mm, yeah.
So, but when the nurse and the social worker and the other person came into the room, and they were like, how are you gonna be able to get the baby at the bassinet? How are you gonna? I was like, oh, they want a Broadway show? No problem. I'll roll up my sleeves and I'll get them one. I was like, and I was flipping and dipping and picking the baby up and doing, and I had just had a C-section and I was in pain, but I was like, they are not gonna see my pain. They're just gonna see a mother taking care of their kid.
That's right.
Absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, I
And
didn't mean to
Jessica,
interrupt.
no, please, because having a firsthand experience with this, these issues is what people need to know about. Like, can you please just give us a walkthrough of what you did and how you handled this situation because it is scary. And I know for me, I have a lot of terrible anxiety, and if something happens that like I'm not planning for, I might freeze in the moment. So, it's good to know like what to prepare for. What are some signs to look out for? Like, what were the telltale signs that you knew something was about to happen?
Well, I was getting ready to go. Like I was getting discharged for the day. And like I said, I had talked to so many other disabled women who have all said the same thing about, the threat of having your child taken away. And then I was like, and oh God, how do I do this?
You're good.
Um, a call came through. I'm sorry. Can you hear
You're
me?
good. You're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you.
So, I was like, so having that warning of other people's experiences and their fears of that happening, like one girl even told me, she was like, you won't leave the hospital without making an appointment with ACS because ACS just comes like it's a part of the discharge plan and I was like, no, like they don't do that for everybody else. They're not going to do that for me. And she was like, well, and then she knows my attitude. She was kind of like, well, you better cooperate or you'll give them a reason to take the baby away. And I was like, so with that in mind, after everything happened, I got the baby. We were getting ready to go, up in like an hour or so, and the lady when they came in together, that was a little freaky. I had already had my IV removed, and like I was getting ready to go, and that's it's probably called what is it called now?
BTW
CPS,
maybe or CPS.
BCW, CPS, like child welfare.
Yeah.
So
Um,
family support systems, family
What?
safety systems.
Family.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
So, uh, just seeing the three of them there with me getting ready to go out the door, it seemed excessive to me. And then, my radar already went up. And then they said, I was like, hey, what's going on? She introduced herself, and when it got to the social worker, and I had already seen the social worker, like they give you a letter to for I was working at the time, um, to say, you gave a live birth and your oh my God, what is that called? My maternity leave could kick in, like from my work insurance.
Yeah.
So she gave me the letter. She was like, and this was a completely different social worker. And I was like, so this is weird. And she was like, we just need to know how you are going to provide for the baby. How can you change him? How can you pick him up at the bassinet? How can you feed him? And because again, Jose also has a disability, I was nervous because I was like, well, we're two disabled people. So I said to her, so is this protocol for everybody else? I'm a smart mom. So like I was like, is
Yes.
this protocol for everybody else? And they were like, no, but considering your situation. And I was like, well, then let me stop you there. I'll just show you how I plan on doing it as of now. And this may change because I'm fresh out of surgery and he's brand new and we're learning each other and everything might change. And so, that's when I did. I did transfer, holding him. I did elevate to get into the bassinet. I did, but I let them know in my own way. Like you're
Mhm.
trying to check me, but I'll checkmate you.
Okay. Well,
Kind of.
let's pause there because that's very important. The way that you were able to ask them and verbalize whether this was protocol for other individuals, other patients. That's very, very important for us to take hold of and to take notice of. Especially like when something like that happens, it can definitely throw you off. It can be very nerve wracking because you're ready to go home. You're ready to get out of there. You're ready to get your baby to where you guys need to be. You're ready to get comfortable, get home safe. And, they wait for unexpected moments like this to kind of catch us in a moment where we're caught like deers in headlights. So being able to verbalize whether that was protocol is very essential. I would say that that would be probably step number one. Okay. First, ask who everyone is, what their titles are, and what they're there for.
Mhm.
Because if they don't make themselves known, first off, you don't have to share any information with them. You don't even have to give them a demonstration of how you're going to provide care for your children because they wouldn't make any other person do that. So, this is already a violation of your rights as a patient because you have the right to receive respectable care, right? You have the right to be given dignity as a patient, regardless of the fact of you have a disability that's obvious. And so I just want to applaud you right there, Jessica, because that right there, it's a very massive step at making sure that you were heard and your rights were not violated any further because you were just able to quickly think on your feet and verbalize that that's something that they wouldn't do for someone else. So if you guys would take note of anything, I would definitely say take note of the fact of making sure that you're asking if these procedures and these plan of actions that they're trying to take without asking are protocol and if it is something that is necessary for you. Always ask questions and make sure that you're getting the information that you need, whether that's the name to a procedure, whether that's all of the possible side effects. You want to make sure that they are giving you all of the information that you need to make a knowledgeable decision because that is your right as a patient.
Someone told me too that if I, not in these words, but
Yeah.
close enough, that if I didn't, if like you have to give them a reason to feel secure in sending the baby home, because they're not really interested in you as in me, but the welfare of the child. So any steps that they choose to take against you would be in the protection of the child.
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
they'll threaten you with saying, if you don't do this, then we'll take the
Yeah, the
baby or
verbiage.
whatever.
Yeah, so they'll go all around. They'll tiptoe around the whole subject, and they'll use certain language that is very. I don't know. You wouldn't hear that shit every day, like that. Like you'll just know that it's not right, and it will definitely give you that off-putting feeling. But they're doing it in a way to try and confuse you, so that they can have a reason to take the baby. They want to prove that you're not competent enough and that you're not, you know, capable of being able to care for that child, and therefore it would be a safety risk to that child. So, making sure that you're aware of your patient rights, making sure that you're aware of what they're doing, the plan of care, the plan of action, making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. Kind of like, I mean, Jessica, you are truly the perfect story here. I can't lie to you, honestly. Like, everything that you did was spot on for everything that you needed to know, like making sure that your particular disability is cared for and that you have someone who specializes within that particular disability. That's very important, especially when they're trying to prove that there is no way that you're going to be able to provide care. You have a plan of care in place for your particular disability to help you get back into the full swing of things. Like, your recovery may look different from other people, but you have every right to receive, adequate care, and making sure that your children are provided for without you having to fear, having your kids taken away just from going to a doctor's appointment. So, just be vocal, fight back, use certain verbiage. Understand that when they're starting to use some terms that it's like very foggy, tell them to clear that shit up. Okay. Like, tell them point blank, period, make it plain, make it simple. Their job is to make it simple for you, because their whole goal is to find some kind of loophole to, kind of catch you up here. So, Jessica, like, just listen to this woman. She's so awesome. I just can't applaud you enough, girl. Like, you are you are absolutely amazing, girl. A true powerhouse.
Thank you. I'm crazy. Crazy is good. Crazy is good. I'm little, but I am fierce.
Yes.
I can serve as an example of the complete opposite. But before that, I just want to share. It is 4 o'clock, but we don't have a hard end time, so we can just keep going. And whoever needs to leave, if you need to leave, feel free. But just wanted to say that. So, me, when I was first injured, 17 years ago, when I was first injured 17 years ago, I had just learned that I was pregnant the morning of my accident.
Oh my God.
And so I was in ICU, um, and I do remember like the way that, oh, just hold on. I think I can. You might need to mute yourself, Jessica, unless he stopped.
I'm going to it. I'm going to it.
Okay.
Thinking about the crib. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Um. Oh yeah, but I don't remember who said it, but someone said it in a certain way, like where you can see that things were different. Um, there was a moment when like three people came into the room. I didn't know two of these people, and they like closed the door behind them. That was what was very strange to me. But at the time, I have a halo on. I'm on one of them turning beds. Like, I'm high on everything they could throw at me, and I didn't know I didn't get a chance to process what I was even gonna do with this pregnancy, to be honest. And it was very foggy for me, but like you said, the language was probably rather complicated at the time for me, and I didn't know what my rights were. I didn't know, to say, let's revisit this later. I want my parents here, or they asked my parents to leave and then close the
Oh,
door.
wow.
And that was when I was like, what's happening? And everything just felt kind of jumbled. The words, honestly, I cannot recall anything that was said to me. They asked me to sign stuff. I signed stuff because I didn't know any better. And I didn't even know that it had happened till like a couple weeks later. I didn't even know that it had happened. But yeah, they'd given me like a DNC. So um it is very real. It very much does happen. If you don't understand the language that they're using with you, ask them to simplify. If you have like friends or family that can be there with you to revisit the conversation at a time when people can be there with you. If you can't do that, you can get a patient advocate. And if you can't afford that, contact the ombudsman. But you never have to agree to anything or sign off on anything that you do not understand.
Absolutely. And as far as like when you have people who are with you, they do not have to leave the room whatsoever. Okay. Whatever you are comfortable with them being there for, they can stay there for that whole process. They do not have to be excused whatsoever. If you want them to stay with you while you get your ass wiped, they can stay there with you.
Right. So what do you do in that situation when you have your people with you and then the staff is
Mhm.
like, oh no, they need to leave and they are adamant? What do you do?
No, they don't have to leave. They're here as my witnesses and my advocates.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It is my right. Like, they're here to assist me with anything that I need. So they're going to stay right here. And if you have a problem with it, then find a bigger space for us.
You know what happened one time? I was at the GYN and
Mhm.
I have had issues with my right leg for many, many years. I was in a car accident, I broke it, and it took years and years and years to heal. But during that time, obviously, I kept up with my GYN visits, and my partner at the time, um, he was the one who knew how to like manipulate my body safely. He knew my language of when I was asking to be turned a certain way, like so he came with me to the appointment. And I remember I was in the GYN, the doctor was there, he was talking to me. It came down to the examination. He helped me on the table. And I was like, I need him to hold my leg. This leg is very delicate. At the time, it was still broken. It wasn't in a cast, but it was in a brace. And I was like, I don't want anybody messing with this leg. It hurts, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And do you know that they had people come in and I had bruises on my stomach because at the time they were giving me an injection to try to help with the healing process. They tried to say that he was abusing me and that I had these bruises on my body because he was abusing me, and that I wanted him to stay in the room because he wanted to be there and witness whatever exam that I was going through because he was controlling. They had hospital security and everybody come. It was a whole
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Like I lost my mind. And
Oh,
I was younger then and not as graceful, I guess, as I am now. So it was a little bit more
it
hectic.
was something. I mean,
It was something.
honestly, yeah, I would have lost my shit too, because you're not
Hmm.
gonna try and pin something like that onto another human being. Like that's time in prison. Like you're
Right?
Yeah.
you're really trying to mess with not only my rights as a patient, but you're trying to mess with their rights as a whole human being right here. And so, no, they don't have the right to, escort people out of the room for you. Like, there is no reason for that. And when it comes to them trying to make up all of these, all of these allegations that they clearly have no proof of, you could definitely file complaints against these individuals. You have the right to file a complaint. Hi Tiffany, I do see you have a question. Give me a second and I'll cover like some more on the complaints and I'll get right to you,
Oh, no,
okay?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Awesome. So you guys have the right to file a complaint against any doctor regardless of what specialty field that they're in. Now, I do want to be a very detailed because it is a pain in the ass. You have to go to specific steps to make sure that you're reporting these individuals because there is no one place to report all doctors, regardless of specialty field. So you will have to figure out what specialty field they're in. You will have to find the medical board for that specialty field. And you will have to find the complaint form for that particular specialty board within that medical specialty field. Once you've done that, you can make your complaint through the medical board for that specialty. But the easiest thing that I always suggest doing is call your insurance. Letting your insurance know about these incidents, it actually damages their connection with the insurance providers that they have. It can actually have them removed as well from being a provider on that list because they're violating your rights as a patient. So call your insurance like as soon as these things start happening. Like you can even call your insurance while you're in office. Call your insurance And just let them know that you have an incident that you would like to report, and report everything in detail, every single thing in detail. Make sure that you report it there, because having a formal document stack against these practitioners, it's very helpful, because you can go back and prove when this happened through your medical insurance as well. So that those are just a few small steps that you can take to file complaints against these practitioners. But we'll definitely cover a little bit more of that in a second. All right, Tiffany, what can I do for you, girl?
Well, it's funny that you're talking about filing a complaint because it wasn't, so I was in the hospital last year and I have pressure sores. And so going through that is always so fun when I go into the hospital because the wound care people don't work on the weekends. So I get to wait until Tuesday when they come in. But the one of the doctors that we were dealing with, my mom was not happy with. And so I filed um, what I called a complaint because I use the word complaint over and over again when I sent it in. What they called it was a concern. So, yeah, so I sent it in, and you just kind of hear back that, like, we hear your needs and we're sorry that happened to you and that kind of thing. So, but it's on paper that I had an issue with it. But yeah, it's funny that um, I get the when I'm in the ER and they ask me how I get my pressure sores, and they look at my mother and I go, "Oh yeah, we're not going there. We're not
Oh
going there."
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
that's not an issue. We're not discussing that. Two of the issues that I have are because I was in the hospital. So if we really want to go there, we can. And they're like, "Oh no, no, no. We're just concerned on how you got them." I'm like, "Well, we can discuss it." And they're like, "Well, no, we're fine." I was like, "Yeah, I thought so."
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's just it's wrong in so many ways, and like to know that you guys have. I mean, honestly, even I have like someone who helps me with my care needs, and there's someone who I trust clearly. Um, but we've had incidents where they're accusing them of doing some unnecessary shit because Lord forbid these practitioners take accountability for the shit that they're doing, right? Um, so whenever there is any type of inclination that there's going to be some type of accusatory like language, yeah, definitely shut that shit down. Shut it down. And I like the way that you put that delicately. Jessica and Tiffany, both of you were like, "No, we're not having this conversation. That's not optional." And you can just let them know, "Well, it doesn't really seem like you're being respectful of my dignity here, and you're not respecting, the fact that I do have a support system." Um, Using certain terminology lets them know that we're not going to have this fucking conversation. Like excuse me for not being so professional today, but honestly, it's something that really irritates me because it's something that we really should not have to deal with. You always have the right to make a complaint. And Tiffany, who did you file that complaint with? Who made this concerning? Who filed
Um,
that for you?
I think that I found it on because I'm in California. And
Mhm.
so I went through the UC Davis Med Center, like I think it was just their website. And I spoke to a
Uh,
woman. I spoke to a woman in like the concern complaint department. And she was like, "Well, once you file it, they won't know who filed it. You won't know what happened to them, but we will have it on record on that it was filed." So now I'm thinking I should have heard something about how it was handled on their end with the people that we filed a complaint about, listening to your concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely supposed to keep you posted on what they're doing or like what steps they're going to take. They don't have to be like extremely detailed in how they're going to handle the situation, but they
Right.
should definitely keep you posted on the fact that they received it. They're going to look into it and they'll keep you posted. Um,
I
Another issue
did
that
get a
I've come across.
sorry, I
Mhm.
did get a letter from them after the
Okay.
fact. I'd have to find it now, but I did get a
Okay.
letter after the fact saying, we got your concerns, it's always, we're sorry to hear that happened, and I just want to be like, oh, make it better, do better. Like, can we make steps to make this easier and better? Like when I'm in the ER, I always tell the doctors, please make note that my mother will doing my wound care changes. And they go, well, the nurses can do that. I go, this is not a discussion. This is something I want in my notes saying my mother is changing my wounds. And it's not a
Yeah.
topic up for discussion. It's something I want on record.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can definitely have them put that on your records, like, and you
Yeah.
can put that that's a non-negotiable for you. And it has to be put in your medical records. You can also make sure that you have that applied to your medical records in like every particular specialty that you go to. You can ask them to make sure that they note that into your patient notes and your patient files. Something that I find very helpful, always try and grab your patient summary, like your summary for that appointment. That way you can make sure whatever it is that they're noting or whatever it is that you're discussing is being noted as you want it noted. And always make sure that you're stating specifically, I want this written in my notes. And you can even say, I want this written in my notes verbatim, so that they understand you're not going to start tweaking with, the verbiage of what I'm telling you here. And that way, in future cases, when you're telling them to refer to the notes, knowing that your mom is the person who is addressing your wound care, that it's a non-negotiable and it's already listed in your documentation. Another thing, when it comes to filing complaints, as much of a pain in the ass as this is, regardless of what facility it is, they're always going to find a way to like work around whatever it is your concern was. So even if it has been reported, they're going to find a way to kind of sweep that under the rug, right? Because those practitioners are working for them. And so the last thing they want to do is give that person like some kind of scuff on their reputation. So, what you do to make sure that they are being held accountable is you contact your insurance. Contact your insurance, make a complaint report with your insurance. If you are unfamiliar with whether you have a case manager, because we all should have case managers for our medical needs, regardless of whether that's with our insurance, whether that's with primary practices or anything. We all have a case manager to help us keep track of these things a little bit better. So when you're calling into your insurance, ask if you do have a case manager on file. Ask for their information. And this way, you can have more of a direct source to contact anytime that you have to file a complaint or a grievance. So being sure that you know whoever your case manager is, that is very helpful. Absolutely. That's great. So make sure that you're asking about a case manager, and then let them know that you have a grievance and a complaint that you would like to report to them. Just be as specific as you can be. Give them the practitioner's name, give them the facility's name, give them their specialty. Just be as detailed as you can be. I mean, time, what any small details you can think of, because it may seem like very minute, in the time, but every small detail matters. And then once again, we're going to look up the board of certification, like the medical board for those particular specialty fields. When we are able to find the medical boards, we can also make sure that they are being held accountable through the medical boards that they work for, because that's going to hold their licensure under, they're going to be evaluated a little bit more thoroughly because of the medical boards need to um, address issues of like maltreatment, neglect, medical racism, medical biases. They have to clear those things up, and they will be a little bit more communicative with you on the steps that they are going to take to make sure that they investigate those claims a little bit more thoroughly. Um, so I know that that's kind of a lot to digest. But these are the easiest ways that you can file a complaint and make sure that your complaints are being taken seriously. Because if you just file them with the facility that that practitioner works for, it will get swept under the rug. But go ahead and file it with them. But I would say go ahead and call your insurance first, and then do the medical board first. That way they know that it is serious and that it is listed on various forms and various files. And if you ever do need to take it to court, you have various listings, and they can even have one for their office records.
I have a question. So
Mhm.
I hear you saying that file a complaint with the insurance company, file it with the medical board. Um,
Yeah.
but in the moment, like when I'm laying in that hospital bed and a nurse or someone has done something that I do not like and don't want to happen again,
Yeah.
who do I call? Who do I specifically ask to come to make that complaint with? Because I feel like it's not the social worker. And the other component of this is I, like many people I know, fear making the complaint with the nursing manager because then you're on the shit list and then
Yeah.
your button is never gonna work. Then you're really gonna catch hell. So when you're there in the moment and you're stuck and you know you're gonna be hospitalized for a while, how do
Yeah.
you handle making that complaint and to whom?
Absolutely. And that is also another issue that we run into, especially when you have like continued plans of care and you have to receive care from facilities. If you are reporting these individuals to the facility they work for, there are more chances of having what do we call them? Like, doing their medical revenge, you know what I mean? Um, by not serving you well, right? So what we can do in the moment is we can say that we don't want that person on our service. Like we do not want them tending to us. We do not want them providing care for us. You can ask for a different practitioner. You can ask for a different nurse. You can ask for someone who is different on staff. You can ask for them to be out. You can let them know that you are not comfortable with them. And, I know that it's a pain in the ass because it's like I should be able to have someone I can report this to directly. But more times than not, they're generally working together. They're cozied up, they're buddy buddy. And so, they're going to make sure that, oh, well, if someone says something bad about my girl, like she's not going down because she has kids and she needs all of these other things. And it's not so much about the patient's needs, it's more so about, well, she needs a job. And so, that's why we have to go through these extra steps. Oh, sorry, Tiffany. You can get my information from any of the girls here. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm an open book. But it was good to have you. Let me know if you have any questions, okay? Um,
So be prepared.
but absolutely, please feel free. Inbox me, DM me. Like I'm here to help in any way that I can.
Thank you. And thank you, Jessica, for being your fierce self.
Exactly. But when it comes to having these things taken care of, like in the moment, the best thing you can do is ask for that person to be taken off of your plan of care at that point in time, for them to not be providing you with services because it is making you uncomfortable. Um, hi,
I've
yeah, like
I've
that's
had it happen to me where I do that. I ask to not have this person on my beat anymore,
yeah,
and then then they'll be like, well, there was only two people assigned to the floor, and if you're not having her, the other one's on the other side of the floor, so they're not gonna get to you until 3 days from now. You know what I mean?
of
Or
course.
when I've refused having a male to me, like all hell will break loose. They'll bring in every manager under the sun, like, well, he's a professional. Why can't he do it? I just don't want that. And they'll make it like that, that I'll have to wait till morning then to get care, you know?
Yeah, and they definitely should not do that. Because you have the right to have your preferences, especially like when it comes to having a male or female examining your body and you're not comfortable with it being like, I don't know, someone of the same or opposite sex, really doesn't matter. If you're not comfortable with that, they have to respect that. And they cannot penalize you in terms of the care that you receive because you have needs that you need taken care of, and you are not comfortable with a medical practitioner doing that. Um, Let me see if I can find the right term that you could use. Mm, you could always let them know that you have the right to a second opinion. Um, and you have the right to uh, you have the right to a second opinion, you have the right to medical advice, and that you have the right to be respected and have dignity of care. If you're not comfortable with that person providing care to you, then there's a reason for that, and you cannot withhold my care from me. Even simple terms of "you cannot withhold care from me," that lets them know that you are familiar with your rights, because they do not have the right to withhold care from you whatsoever. And so that is your absolute right for you to fight for the care that you are owed and deserve. And we just have to use certain terminology, and I know it's truly a pain in the ass, because I know how backed up it can be when it comes to staff, or like how they have staff conveniently located like elsewhere, just to kind of make things a lot more difficult for us when we do need our care attended to. But you have the right to ask for these things. And when it comes to care facilities, we also have the right to file a complaint against the practitioners who are providing us care. Like, let's say there's a certain orderly who is constantly like busting my balls, and I don't like that female. Like, she's doing things that I am uncomfortable with. I have the right to report her as well to my insurance. I have the right to report her to the medical board of orderlies for that particular specialty. And the only reason why we're not able to go directly to these individuals is because of the way that they will handle this. If you have all of these things documented, it makes it easier for you in case you ever do have to take this shit with you to court. And it shows that you've done your due diligence and you've gone through all of the ups and downs of making sure that you've gone through the chain of command, so to speak, to make sure that you're getting your needs met. But if they're not willing to abide by that, then actively letting them know like that you're familiar with your rights and that they don't have the right to do certain things is what will start to dwindle that shit down. Because if there's something that's going to scare anyone, it's access to their paychecks.
Mm.
And yeah, so when we're filing these complaints to the insurance and we're filing through the medical board, we're going after their paychecks, because you're not about to start fucking with my health, and then I still have to worry about the fact that you're going to be like dosing me up with medications,
Mhm.
because it's just absolutely horrendous. So I know it's a lot of steps that we have to take, but make sure that you're constantly requesting that that person is not put on your plan of care, or that they're not tending to you when you're in need of having your needs met. Make sure that you report them to your insurance. You report them to the board of orderlies. I would think, I'm not really sure what their specialty is, but there should be like a medical board even for nurses. Um,
So it's your local medical board, your local
yeah,
medical board, right? Okay.
absolutely. Just make sure it is for that particular specialty that they practice in, because other than that, it will find like their medical license information. It'll give all of that information to you once you find the medical board that they work for.
Okay.
Mhm.
I would
But
also,
always
and
trust someone
probably,
else.
oh yeah, everybody has a boss, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's also a good idea to always ask for your patient rights guide, because they
Yes.
offer it and sometimes they give it and like we might throw it away, but I think it's good to say those words out loud to as many people as possible. Like, hey, I'm trying to get access to my patient rights. Tiffany came back. Her meeting isn't actually until a little later, so
Yay. Welcome back, girl.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, but that was something that I think is important to let people know that you're aware of your rights and that yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always ask for your patient rights. If they ask you if you want them, say yes, even if you don't care, even if you know them like off off the top of your head. Just accept them. That way they can know, like, if I have to use this, I will. Even if you have to look at the paper itself and just be like, this doesn't sound like you're abiding by this particular right. It lets them know that you're paying attention, and it also lets them know, like, they can't just pull a fast one over on you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me see if we have any other questions before moving on. Oh, the ADA, I'm going to share, well, could just put that in the chat right now, about the National ADA hotline and the number for, or the information for the disability rights advocates. They're two separate,
Yes.
but they both can help with this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And there are local disability advocate offices in your areas. You would have to look for the particular city and state that you are in. That way, you can try and get access to a medical advocate who can actually work with you in these particular cases, like on a case by case basis. Now, I will say that they are generally pretty backed up. But if you put in a request at your local office, it's better than not. Try and get access to them if you can. It will make things a lot easier for you. Your insurance case manager will make a lot of things easier as well. Because not only are they able to help you with complaints and all of these things, they're supposed to be able to help you find new practitioners if you have to leave a facility. They're supposed to be like your go-to for everything. So even if it sounds like it's kind of a crazy one-off incident or like issue, take it to your insurance case manager because they might have some very helpful information for you. Also, if you have like a primary care physician who you trust their medical expertise, and maybe you guys have a good ear with them. If you even mention some of these incidences of like the medical negligence and the need for filing a complaint, they may be able to give you some information on how to do that. I have a number for it is like a medical complaint hotline. Now, I'm not sure if they are listed for specific regions in the United States, but it is known as Levanta. Let me see if I can find some information on them, and I will provide their details in the chat. But they are another source that you could actually go to file these medical complaints against these medical practitioners.
I can try and look that up for you if you want.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good.
So we definitely discussed family planning and advocacy support, privacy and decision making. Oh, this thing about receiving summaries of medical appointments and records, like when if I've been at the hospital for 2 weeks or something, they'll give me, my little like 8 pages of discharge notes, which is a very, very, very condensed. And I be asking for like I want the exams,
Yeah.
I want it all. And they always tell me that I have to go through medical records like at a later date. Like I can't leave there with that paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And is that true? Like, can they not just provide it to me there? Like print out everything from when I was there then? I have to go through medical records.
I feel like my chart lets you see everything instantly now.
Yeah, because I was going to say if they use like something like my chart, then you should be able to access it pretty instantaneously. But if they're going to be giving you like paper copies of your records, which I absolutely wholeheartedly do support, I say when you get any copies of your medical records, get it digitally, get a physical copy. Just get as many different copies as you possibly can. If they have a disc, have them give you a disc. If they're going to email it to you, have them email it to you. But just have various forms of your medical records on hand. That way, if they're saying like, there's something wrong with the digital copy, you have a copy on hand for them.
They'll tell
Um,
you that they won't give you the printout because they want you to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
that was my experience in the past. But now with my chart, I mean,
Mhm.
I remember being in the bed, after I gave birth, and then bing, I got a notification that on my chart, my chart, Joseph, they were like a new person had been added to your my chart, and I was like, what?
Oh.
And I got
Okay.
all of his results. He had, different blood work and all that, different
Mhm.
stuff in the beginning. And it was all there
Wow.
Oh,
instantly, just
good.
about. Yeah.
That's
Good.
amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can get a paper copy, but like you said, Jessica, they will more than likely ask you for, funds for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could always have them, like if you're transferring care and things like that, like they don't have the right to charge you for having your medical records transferred over to like a new practitioner or like a new medical provider. So they're not supposed to charge you for that.
I wonder if
Um,
there's some sort of resource or if somebody's like has financial, constraints and they can't afford what they're charging. It'd be like $1 a page. I remember I asked for my medical records once. I said I want all of them. 3 boxes came to my house. I don't remember. I think my lawyer might pay for them. I don't remember, but it was like 3 boxes. And I'm like, who can afford? Well, some people can, but everyone can't afford this. And so I wonder if there's a resource for that.
I mean, that would actually be something good to look into. Because absolutely, I agree. Like, there are times when I need like my medical records, like as of yesterday, because maybe my plan of care is in need of like, taking these documents to this new practitioner. And, next thing I know, they're asking me for $70. And it's like, I get paid once a month, very little, like I'm not making a ton of money here. Um, but there are some ways that they're not allowed to charge you for your medical records, like again, like with the transfer of care or whether they're sending it to a new practitioner, like that's technically a free way of getting your records.
But with my
Um,
experience in that, they send it to them directly. Like they still
yes.
don't, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You don't get
Yeah.
anything physically.
Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. They definitely will send it directly to them and kind of just keep you out of the loop.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. But the lucky thing is that like as long as you have like all of your various medical documentation, like records transferred to like your primary care person, at least you have one place that you can go to get all of your medical records whenever, time kind of allows or funds kind of allow for you to get a copy of your medical records. You have one place to go instead of like nine. So just always make sure that they're sending your medical records over to your practitioner, like your primary, so that like whenever you do have a chance to collect all of your medical records, you can gain all of them from one place instead of like 19.
Nice.
um
I want to
what
mention
was
very
the
quickly that I put in the chat the ADA complaint hotline, the Disability Rights Association information, New York Lawyers for Public Interest for people that are here in New York, the Levanta thing I found it. It's a government site now, apparently. Um,
good,
and I
nice.
also learned that you can make healthcare complaints to the AG, to the Attorney General, so you can call the state.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
That's all.
So yay. All right, cool. By the way, for your medical records, you can also ask them if they have like a system similar to like my chart, like if they have some sort of oh gosh, what do they call them now?
Portal.
Yes, a portal. If they have a portal, then that should be easier for you to access it. And they cannot deny you access to that portal. They cannot deny you access to your medical records. So let's say, for instance, like you don't have a way of like, accessing the patient portal. That is like one of those times where you could probably see if they could waive the fee for your medical records, because you could always let them know, like, I have the right to obtain copies of my medical records, and like you do not have the right to withhold them from me. And, considering that I don't have access to a patient portal, Is there any way that we can waive the fee for me to get access to my medical records because I need those? Something along those lines. So if they don't have a patient portal, or you don't have access to a patient portal, you can ask and see if they can waive the fee for your copies.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Do we have any questions right now? Do we have anything that we didn't address that anyone wanted addressed? I think we pretty much covered
Oh,
it.
then I have one question.
Yes, Kathy.
For in the case of the emergency room, if you go to the emergency room, usually they give you a printout of whatever you went there for. Can you also have them send it to your doctor office from the emergency room as well? Can you
Absolutely.
request it to
Yeah.
be sent to your doctor's office?
Yes, absolutely. Just make sure
Okay.
that you ask for everything that they've gone through, like your workup, whether that's medical testing, scans. Just have them send a copy of every single thing that
Oh,
you
okay.
had worked up. Have them send it to your primary care physician.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
usually the discharge paper they gave you just doesn't have any
It's very
testing that was
small.
done.
it's
Yeah, that's what I'm
very
asking.
basic.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
always ask
Good to
for them
know.
to send all that stuff over. Hmm.
Okay, good to know. Great.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Well, wait a minute. Did we do touch on what? Oh my God. We were saying something in the beginning that you added to the list. Did we do that? I don't remember. That Tiffany said. Those who don't want to.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, birth control.
Oh.
so what the question is, what are our rights? What are our rights if we don't? What are our rights if we don't want to have children? Like maybe Tiffany can clarify exactly what she was.
No, my question, no, I was just thinking out loud about like not the whole not being a mom, but I don't think it's really a legal question that I had. So it was
You
just
mean
in
what are your
general.
patient rights, not necessarily reproductive?
Yeah, I mean, I know that for me, because I had a blood clot years ago, I didn't know that I could get birth control without estrogen until a
Mhm.
doctor mentioned it.
Wow.
So I was, because my periods were really abnormal and they were like 2 weeks long. And I had a
Mm.
doctor be like, you can get on birth control. And I was like, I had a blood clot. And she said, they have it without estrogen. And I was like, what? Like for years, nobody had told me this. So when she told me, I was dumbfounded. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I want to stop bleeding for 2 weeks. Please, can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's been an option. And I didn't know it was an option. So, yeah, knowing your rights for, or like just in general, a doctor being like, oh, yeah, this is an option. And maybe like, oh, now I feel like an idiot.
You know,
No, I agree.
it happened to me that I went through that with the pulmonary embolism, right? And so then they were afraid to give me any birth control that contained estrogen, but I was like in immense pain all the time, and the theory was that I had
Hi,
endometriosis.
Lily.
I so they started giving me these injections of Lupron, which they give to like women with like severe like ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, things like that. Um And what the Lupron did, though, as a person, the doctor, she told me that he hadn't dealt with another person with a spinal cord injury, but I was desperate. But it became evident because what I learned after the fact is I was on these Lupron injections for 4 years, and I knew there was a problem because I broke both of my femurs in the same year, and I've never been. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I learned that you're not supposed to be on this treatment for more than 9 months at a time
Oh
Oh.
my.
for 4 years. And I didn't know what to do. I wasn't like in the mind to like be like, I'm gonna sue her because I don't ever think that that's the first solution. I just wanted, I don't even know where I was going. Just, I don't know how can I protect myself against something like that when I'm trusting that the
Oh.
doctor is supposed to know, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Wow. No, girl, please don't have me come down there and slap somebody. I will do this for you. Okay. I will put my legal licensure on the line. Okay, look. Okay. Yeah, no, first off, anytime that we are being provided any offers for like any treatments, any medications, anything that has to do with plan of care, they are supposed to explain it in a way that is conducive to us making a knowledgeable decision on whether we want to accept that treatment, right? That includes like them telling us all of the various medications that we have options to, meaning if there is uh, a birth control pill that has no estrogen, then I should be notified of that. That means that if this shot that I'm receiving is only supposed to last for 9 months, I'm supposed to be made aware of those things. And you, as a practitioner, are supposed to be paying attention to that because you are the one administering the dosage. You are the one administering the access that I have um, to getting this plan of care, to getting this treatment, to getting this medication.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Um,
because I signed off on it though. So
but they didn't explain it to you. It's never our fault when they are not explaining things to us and we're signing off. Because I mean, honestly, whoever is in the right frame of mind of suing somebody when all I really want is, like pain treatment. I want treatment for the things that I'm having issues with medically. Like I really don't want to have to go to a court system to get through getting my medications adequately, given to me, right? Like nobody has that at the top of their mind frame. Like I'm not going to a doctor's office with the intention of suing someone, right? But they're also not giving me the adequate amount of care that I need, right? They're not even telling me about the access to treatment that I have. They're not telling me about how treatment is supposed to go for me, the recovery process. They are supposed to give you adequate and ample amount of information than not. So, and let me see if I can put that in a way that okay, cool. You could always say I have the right to informed consent.
mhm.
hmm Which means that they have to dumb that shit down as much as you tell them to. So that means medical risks, that means the benefits, that means the one off side effects, that means how long it's supposed to last. So always just make sure that you're telling them, okay, well, I want to make sure that I'm making a knowledgeable decision based on the plan of care or the treatment that you're offering. So if you could please make sure that you are providing me with as much information as possible so that I can make an informed decision.
Yeah, I didn't realize
hmm
I wasn't understanding everything. And I don't think that she would have told me, "Oh, I'm gonna mishandle this." I think just
No.
rock and keep getting paid. But my lawyer did going back to me feeling away because I'd signed off on paperwork, like I've had lawyers say to me like that doesn't matter if the offense is egregious enough, like, they
hmm
ways to kind of like litigate it. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there. Don't feel stuck, even if something does happen and you sign paperwork. Like, don't feel stuck. Like, still, like, explore the complaints and the litigation or however you want to handle it. Hi, Imani.
Um,
Hi.
Hi, Money.
hi. Um, so I was in the hospital. I had like someone gave me like a virus,
hmm
and so I didn't know what exactly. Because I always asked, what are you giving me? What are you giving me? What are you giving me?
Yeah.
And because I'm very active with my medication and what it. But at that time, I was like, I had a virus. I was coughing and stuff. And so I didn't know I was taking steroids. No one told me.
Hmm.
Doctor didn't tell me. The nurse was just kept giving me steroids, and I'm like, why you? And then once I'm awake and I was aware, I'm like, well, what is this? They like, the nurse said, oh, it's steroids. I said, what is it for? I don't need steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they said supposed to suppress the tone of whatever they was trying to tell me. I said, what?
Mm-hmm.
No. Like, I'm not trying. No, don't give me that. But yeah,
Oh wow.
I was yeah, and I was livid, and it wasn't even my chart. Like, no, this, if you look at my chart, my medication's on here, everything's on here. My medical medication, and other than that, everything else. And you could have gave me vitamin C in
Mm-hmm.
the liquid form. I beat that, but um, my point is that I was like I was forgot. I was livid after that. I was like,
Yeah.
what? And then because the student doctor, I hate student doctors. I know they're here to learn and whatnot, but I can't stand student doctors. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And they're here to learn, but not at the expense of my health. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Yeah,
And you have the right for them not to be there. You can say
you
no.
do. Yeah.
They push. They're like, well, it's a teaching hospital. They push. Like,
Tell them
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Tell them no. Tell them no.
Sometimes like when because the whites of my eyes are blue because of my disability, so people don't see that often. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing they go for, when the students come in. I'm most times I'm okay with it, but then I'll keep my eyes closed. And they're like, "You good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're just here to see my eyeballs. Like, leave me alone. Let's be real."
Yeah.
And then if I don't feel like it, I'll say no. But you
Yeah.
definitely have the right to say no. I've
I've
said no.
never noticed that.
hmm The whites of my eyes are blue.
Never noticed that ever. Okay.
And when I break, they get even darker. You almost can't tell the
Mm.
difference from my eyes to my like the white to the pupil.
Yay! Girl, look. Imani, I'm sorry that that happened to you, girl, because I can't even lie to you. Like, I've been in a situation where I was hospitalized, and, here they come poking and, prodding me and giving me some kind of medication that I absolutely did not need. And it definitely could have, like, enhanced like my symptoms, let alone, like, if it didn't kill me because it's something that I shouldn't have had, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, like when it comes to them doing that, like that's complete and utter negligence. Complete and utter negligence. Do you ever have anybody with you when you're going in for your appointments? Was anybody with you at that time?
It was just my mom. My mother took me, and because she's like, "Oh no, you have to go to the hospital." Because I was on my way to work. Actually, I was going to work. She's like, "No, you have to go to the hospital. You can't go to work."
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, oh. So I was in there for a long time, and yeah, when they admitted me and everything, I I didn't understand why they were wanting to give me steroids.
Yeah, that's weird. What you can do is, when it comes to medications or anything, like any kind of treatment or anything that you're uncomfortable with, you have the right to refuse, right? Um, you don't have to say yes first and foremost. You can always say no. You always have the right to say no. It doesn't matter what it's to. I don't care if they're asking you to blink and you don't feel like it. You can always say no. So no is like your go-to, your best friend. When it comes to the medications that they are giving you, especially if you already have medications that you are taking, you can ask them for the counter activity between the medications you are currently taking and the medication that they are talking about. So always ask them, and sometimes, yeah, they're supposed to look at our charts, but most of the times they really don't seem to give all that much of a damn.
Right.
So, always be sure to mention like the medications that you're taking, always mention like the diagnoses and the symptoms that you're dealing with, because um that way you can always have someone, especially like if your mom is there, you have someone who's there with you. You have a witness there that can attest to the fact that you told this practitioner about um the symptoms, about the diagnosis, about the medication that you're taking, and so that it is on their end that the negligence has come from. And so basically there's no way to blame you for that, right? So always ask for the counter activity of the medication that you're already taking and whatever it is that they're offering. So I don't care if it's just injections, I don't care if it's like a IV bag, always ask for the counter activity of whatever it is that you're taking and whatever it is that they're offering. Especially when it comes to ERs, we might not have like a notebook on hand, but if we can ask them for like the name of the medications that they're giving us, maybe the person who is with us can note them down in a notebook, like, a digital notebook or like a text or something, just to kind of jot down what kind of medications are there. They can also look up to see what kind of counter activity happens between those medications that you're already taking and the medications that are listed. And it also shows that you are keeping track of what they're putting into your body. So let's say I have to take my son to the doctor because whatever he's dealing with, right?
Right.
If I'm asking them to tell me about the medication that they're giving him and I'm asking what it's for, always ask for the dosage as well. That way you can have as much information on this medication. You can know how much they're giving you, how often they're giving it to you. Especially like in cases like with the steroid that they were already injecting you with. What if you were taking something that counter reacted with very, very nastily? You know what I mean? Like you could have been in peril. And if we don't know the milligram that they're giving, if we don't know how often they're giving it to you or what they're giving it to you for, like it just makes things a lot more difficult for us to receive, adequate care, for us to get to a quicker place of recovery. So just try and keep track of what they're putting into you, ask about counter activity, and you have the right to say no. You can say no to anything. Doesn't matter what it is. You can always tell them no. If you're uncomfortable with it, if it doesn't make sense, if they're not making it make sense, you can always tell them no. If you want to revisit it, you have the right to do that. You can tell them, all right, well, I've thought a little bit further. I would like to try this. Please explain it further. Always ask for these people to explain things further. I don't care how annoyed they are, make them do their job. Okay. So if you're going to have someone there collecting this information, just make sure that they get the dosage, what they're giving you the medication for, and the name of the medication.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that was, I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
like that, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Like I just
it is.
like it's dangerous. I don't be know how else to say that. Like it's very dangerous. Like you're mixing a whole bunch of medications up in my bloodstream, and like it's dangerous.
They almost killed
So
her once. They gave her 10 times the dosage of this IV medication for her seizures. And then she was just fucking comatose for days and we didn't know what was wrong. No one knew what was wrong. And I asked for her chart. I asked for the records and I was the one that started going through stuff and that's when I found it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't that. That math didn't math. And again, I just feel like there were so many missed opportunities where I should be rich by now. Like, but you're not thinking about that in the moment. In the moment, I'm thinking, oh my God, y'all tried to kill my sister. Like, I'm trying to fight, like I'm not thinking about lawyers. Like, I'm thinking about
oh
so
oh gosh.
Right.
And
You're
it's
thinking about
not funny,
revenge, not lawyers.
oh yes. I'm trying to
Cut somebody.
Oh my God. And it's like, it's not funny, but oh my gosh, it's like, why do I have to make this make sense to you? You are the doctor.
It's
You
crazy.
are the medical person. Like you should know this. Why do I need to make it make sense to you? Oh gosh, girl, the way. Mm.
Sorry. On that note, this has been a great talk. This has been a great talk. I'm very pleased. I'm happy. I hope we were able to answer everyone's questions. I hope everyone was able to learn something and grab some great resources. Please get them out of the chat. Okay. Want to make sure everyone has them. And if anyone has anything more they want to say, please let us know. I know it's about to be 5, so we gotta.
You say I
I'm
learned
gonna
a
show you really quickly my blue.
You're blue. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Oh,
wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty.
okay.
That's pretty.
It's
I thought I
freaky.
was seeing it. I thought I was seeing it. Yeah.
I've never seen that. I should feel bad because I actually quite literally have never seen that. Oh my
They
God.
blend in so well.
Wow. Well, it's beautiful, Jessica.
Thank
It
you.
is though. I'm jealous.
I wish my eyes were blue, not my whites of my eyes.
I
Beautiful.
mean, best of both worlds.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
That's the way. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you,
Yeah.
Maya. Thank you, everyone who attended. This was wonderful. And please give your feedback. You have my email. Give your feedback. Let us know what you liked, what you'd like for us to expand on. We can do this again. So please. Thank you.
Absolutely. If you guys ever have any questions that you want, you need for an advocate to answer for you, feel free to just ask Natalia. We follow each other on Instagram, so you guys can get my information from her. I'll even
He's
provide
dating
you with
while
her email.
disabled, okay? Don't it's dating
Yes,
while disabled, okay?
it is dating while disabled.
February's
So feel
coming and I'm
free.
trying to do something sexy, so just be prepared.
Oh well, look, maybe when I come down there, I'll host a little speed dating. Yeah.
No, really, I'm trying to have like a little sex toy party kind of situation for Valentine's Day. So,
I'm
per,
your girl.
per. Yes, let's talk. Let's talk more. Thank you, ladies. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Everyone, have a
Bye.
wonderful evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. We'll do this
Bye.
again soon.
Thank you.
Mhm.